Okay, y'all. Yesterday, last night, this morning, I don't know the time zones, but Russia and China signed a cooperation agreement. This is a big deal. I got to do my research before I come back to y'all and talk about the details because I don't speak on stuff unless I feel like I know what I'm talking about, okay? So I'm not going to go into that right now, but I'm going to come back about it, okay? But anyway, what I want to speak about real quick is Gadaffi. The reason I want to talk about Muammar Gadaffi is because I feel like the U.S. and Western nations are trying to do Putin like they did Gadaffi. Anytime they can't control another leader of another country, they deem that leader a dictator, okay? They talk about all his human rights violations, yet we have human rights violations here in the U.S., okay? That's a story for another day, though. But anyway, they're in no position to judge that, so that lets you know it has nothing to do with that, okay? So anyway, let me tell y'all something about Gadaffi real quick because they made him out to be so terrible, okay? Not saying he's perfect. He had his flaws, as we all do. But anyway, all right, y'all, I'm going to be looking like I'm looking away. I apologize. I got to look at this laptop, and I'm going to be real with y'all. I don't really care for this Chromebook. Won't get one again. But anyway, okay. So in Libya, they didn't have an electric bill under Gadaffi. Imagine that, not having a light bill. How much easier would your life be without a light bill? Okay. No interest on loans. The banks in Libya were state-owned, and all citizens had to be given 0% interest by law. Can you imagine that? Okay. A home was considered a human right in Libya. Every citizen had the right to own a home. Okay. The government made that possible. All newlyweds in Libya received what is equivalent to 50,000 US dollars. They gave people incentives to be married instead of incentives to be apart, as we do over here. Okay? All right. Education and medical treatments were free in Libya. Before Gaddafi came into power, only 25% of Libyans were literate, it says. And forgive me, anybody in Libya, if I don't mean to sound, like y'all couldn't read or something. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I'm just reading the stats, okay? Now it's at 83%. So Gaddafi brought them from 25% literacy to 83% literacy, okay? Education was big over there, okay? So if they could not afford their education or medical help, if they weren't, the government funded them to go somewhere else. So basically, okay, if they didn't have the resources there or they couldn't afford it there, they didn't have it there, the government paid for you to go somewhere else and get the help you needed, okay? If a Libyan bought a car, the government subsidized 50% of the price. So imagine you trying to go to the lot and get you a ride, right? And you don't have to pay but half of it. Come on now. How much easier would that make your life, okay? They had no external debt. This is the big thing right here. Libya had no debt, okay? Their reserves amounted to 150 billion. They're now frozen. Funds frozen, okay? There are a lot of things that I can go on and say that were benefits to the citizens of Libya under Gaddafi, okay? But I don't have enough time, all right? But this is the big thing. This is the big thing right here, okay? Under Gaddafi, during his time, he stepped to all the leaders of African nations, had said, hey, let's get our own currency, okay? In Africa, they have the resources to back up their money. So had he been successful and got that popping, and they had currency of their own, it would have bankrupt the US dollar. It would have bankrupt the euro because they had the resources to back it up. All we have is paper. That's all we have. They have actual resources, okay? So that's why Muammar Gaddafi was murdered. He was murdered because he was about to destabilize the US dollar and the euro, which Putin and China are about to do now. That is why they want Putin gone. That's what it's all about. But keep believing this human rights violation stuff. Keep falling for that. I'm not, because I know what's up.